Hey guys, Jordan Reid here, and I'm here to introduce my Reading Between the Lines series, which is a series that I want to introduce to you guys where I will break down things that I see weekly from the college football season. And we officially made it. We're through the second week of the season, and there was plenty of standout performances and things that happened during the college football landscape. And the biggest one that happened, though, was the Oregon Ducks. How about them going into Ohio State, getting the big upset over the Buckeyes? They were seen as a big underdog coming into this game. Not only that, they were without arguably their two best defenders on defense, and Kayvon Thibodeau, who's widely seen as a potential prospect for the number one overall selection in the 2022 NFL draft, but also Justin Flo, who will be a player that we talk about in the future a ton. But there's a lot of standout players that I want to give kudos to, and the first one has to be Verone Mckinley III, the safety for the Oregon Ducks. He had a standout performance. He had an interception, but it wasn't only on defense where he impacted the game. It was also special teams as well. So kudos to Verone Mckinley III. But also, how about Anthony Brown, the quarterback transferred from Boston College, who came in to a hostile environment, only his second start with the Ducks. And I really was impressed with what he was able to put on tape in this game. So I have to give it up to Verone Mckinley III on defense, but also Anthony Brown. But how about CJ Verdell as well? Everything, he is the engine of this offense, and I really thought he stood out in this game. But the great thing about this win for Oregon was that it was a huge win for the Pac-12 as well. This was their biggest win in a very long time as well. So I want to give it up to Oregon and then what they were able to accomplish down in the shoe at Ohio State. But now, a player that I thought was absolutely terrific and has quietly handled his business this season is Malik Willis, the quarterback from Liberty. And he was one of those prospects that really caught fire this summer. What I mean by caught fire is that you saw him on Twitter, you see the social media clips of him against Virginia Tech, FIU, and then some of these standout throws that he had throughout the season. But now with all eyes on him, how was he able to handle the pressure? And even though he hasn't played a high quality opponent, he's only played Campbell, and then he played against Troy, he's still been able to quietly handle his business. But the showdown that everybody is waiting for and has circled on their schedule for Malik Willis is November 6th, where he goes into Ole Miss and he battles Matt Corral. So keep an eye on Malik Willis all the way up until that November 6th matchup. I think him and Corral are probably the two hottest quarterbacks in the country right now. But the matchup that stood out the most to me this week, and I want to transition to the SEC and then also the Big 12. There's been a lot of discussion about both of those conferences so far this year. How about Arkansas beating up on Texas? A matchup that a lot of people were looking forward to seeing this week. They go down. How about a Sam Pittman-like victory? 333 rushing yards. A former offensive line coach. He was just giddy the entire game just because that's the type of game plan that he wanted to incorporate. And the Arkansas Razorbacks were able to go in and just beat up on Texas. And that's exactly what they were able to do this week. A very disappointing performance for Texas. Only 256 total yards, especially considering what Steve Sarkisian was and then his pedigree coming from Alabama and just how explosive that offense was a year ago. But once again, Arkansas with a standout performance and easily the best victory so far of Sam Pittman's young career as the head coach at Arkansas. But that is my three items that I wanted to outline in the Reading Between the Lines series this week. Stay tuned for next week, the third week of the college football season. There is going to be a lot to pay attention to. Make sure to subscribe to the Draft Network YouTube channel, also on Twitter and Instagram as well. I will be back next week to break down some other areas that I noticed in my Reading Between the Lines section next week.